We live in a time of nearly constant communication, and it can be overwhelming to try to keep up with all of this information. There's text, there's emails, there's cell phones. You got to keep up with whole seasons of Game of Thrones. This has led some people to believe that this era that we live in is the most difficult and overwhelming time that people have ever lived in. Or maybe not. History is full of stress. Throughout history, there's been things like the Black Plague. There's been the slave trade. There's been invading Mongols. There's been saber-toothed tigers trying to bite you on the head. And even today, there's people dealing with things like war and disease and lack of drinking water. No matter where you are, you're going to be dealing with stress and depression and things that are much more than too many channels on the TV. But I'm not trying to say suck it up, Buttercup. I'm trying to say that everyone is going to feel pressure and stress at some time. It's part of the human experience and it can't be escaped. Knowing that I don't have to hide from the Spanish Inquisition doesn't make my morning commute any less stressful. Whatever pressure or stress you feel in your life is real. It's real in your mind. It's real to you. Stress and pressure cannot be eliminated or removed from the human experience, but it can be managed. So throughout the centuries, people have come up with all different methods that they use to deal with this kind of stress and how to manage it. And this can include things like getting enough sleep, going out there, getting exercise if feeling good, going to therapy. And one method that people have been using for thousands of years in all sorts of different cultures, even through horrible histories that I mentioned above, is meditation. Now, I'm not going to try to sell you on this idea that meditation will give you this enlightenment that's a key that you can use to unlock all the mysteries of the universe, because it isn't. In fact, people can't even agree on a definition of enlightenment. It's not even really clear if it exists. Thinking that doing some meditation is going to turn you into a guru is the same as thinking doing some exercise to feel better will turn you into Usain Bolt. What it will do is give you some space every day where you can understand your emotions a bit, you can observe them, you can process them a little bit before you react. And now this sounds like you're turning into Spock or something where you're above emotions. You're always going to have emotions with you. They're going to be part of you. So let's try to understand them. And besides, even the real nerds know that Mr. Spock couldn't even get away from his emotions and it drove him crazy. One of the most successful examples of people taking the time to study their emotions and study how they react to the world around them was in the documentary Dama Brothers, where prisoners started taking meditation practices and the violent incident suddenly dropped in the prison. Another really successful example is the David Lynch Warriors Foundation, where soldiers are using meditation to deal with post-traumatic stress disorder from the war. The other thing it does is it gives you some time to recharge. It gives you a committed time that you're going to sit down, you're going to study how your mind is reacting to the world around you, including your body. And then when you go back to the world from that, you're going to have a game plan on what your actions are going to be, rather than just a series of reactions to the world that's happening all around you. And that's pretty much all that we're aiming for right here. Just the same as what I said before about using some diet, some exercise, some sleep. These are just tools of dealing with the world around you. And again, our goal isn't to make ourselves into some enlightened guru. Dan Harris wrote a very successful book about meditation, how it helped him. His goal is only to be 10% happier in his life. And there's a lot of people that swear by this, and they're creative, productive people. But I wouldn't consider these transcendent beings that never have any stress or turmoil in their life or never get angry. These are people like Jerry Seinfeld, Howard Stern, science fiction author William Gibson, Rivers Cuomo of Weezer, LeBron James, and Clint Eastwood. Frank Zappa once said that talking about music is like dancing about architecture. Even though meditation seems like an intellectual exercise, it's really a physical experience, and you need to do it in order to understand it. So we can talk about this for the entire presentation, but if you really want to learn anything about meditation, you have to give it a try. So you might like it, you might hate it, you might not have any idea what the big fuss is about, but the only way you can really have an opinion about it is give it a try. So this is a simple Zazen meditation. Find a quiet spot, sit down on a pillow or cushion facing the wall, and you want to cross your legs so that your feet are on your knees. This is called the lotus position. If that's too hard, you can do a half lotus with just one leg. Some people suggest sitting on a chair or even lying in bed, but Zazen has evolved into this position through thousands of years of trial and error, and paying attention to the posture is one of the things that keeps you focused on the connection between your mind and body. Next, place your hands in your lap, just like in this picture. Each hand here represents the body and the mind and how they rely on each other. And lots of philosophers like Rene Descartes and Socrates, they had a hard time defining how the mind and the soul interacted with the body. But Zazen doesn't see a separation between thought and body. And when you think about how the world around you and the stimulus around you affects your body and the way you think, it's not worth separating the two. This is a reminder of why you're meditating and how you interact with the world around you. So the final element is breathing. What you want to do is put your tongue to the roof of your mouth and then close your mouth. You're going to breathe in deeply through your nose until your stomach distends a bit, then exhale again. While you're doing this, you want to keep your spine straight and your chin slightly tucked in. And you just want to repeat this over and over again. Deep breaths, in and out. So you want to start off with about 10 or 15 minutes of this. And during this time, thoughts are going to occur. All kinds of thoughts like I should be making more money, I'm a lousy child to my parents, my kid can't get the hang of printing, I think she's destined for a life of failure, what was Gilligan's first name? These happen, just acknowledge them, let them go away. I think of them like soap bubbles that I pop. None of these have any effect on the world around you, your bottom hand. Just focus on the breathing and the posture. Start off doing this for about 10 or 15 minutes. And during this time, all kind of thoughts are going to occur. You can have all these thoughts like, should I be making more money? Am I a lousy child to my parents? And that's pretty much it. Other forms of meditation can require chants or mantras. Some even have a monk walk around with a stick if your posture slips. But meditation doesn't have to be this serious. These other elements are all just tools to help you meditate and focus on the connection between your mind and body. But if you get your butt on the floor, you do some zazen, you're going to develop a better sense of understanding about how your mind interacts with the world around you. Now, I made this sound pretty easy, and the concept is, but it requires a lot of commitment. And you'll be amazed at how many thoughts flood into your mind even during just 10 minutes a day of this, and how exhausting it can be to let those thoughts go. But rather than some huge inner battle, mostly it can just seem boring. The same way that running or going to the gym can seem boring when you first start out because it doesn't feel like you accomplish anything. And as a result, you'll start making excuses of why you shouldn't do it. I don't have time is the big excuse, but think about how much time you spend every day doing the stuff that you think is fun or relaxing, like checking Twitter or watching Simpson reruns or trying to think up some way the Canucks might win this year or drinking a bunch of wine and having a headache the next day. And then you think about how much actual fun or relaxation this stuff gets you. Well, if you're too busy to spend 10 minutes a day alone with your thoughts, then you're too busy, and you probably need meditation more than ever. The other excuse you hear is, I'm just not some spiritual hippy-dippy person. Well, you don't have to be. One example I always give is yoga. There's a real deep spiritual philosophical history to the practice of yoga. But if you head to the gym and you put the time in and you do the practice, you're still going to see benefits and rewards from it, whether you believe in any of this stuff or not. And I think we've all met people that are really good at yoga, and they're not any kind of beacon of light for other people. So if there's one thing that I'd like you to take away from this, is just give it a try. The benefits are documented. It's free. Honestly, you don't have to buy a timeshare or anything at the end if you don't like it. There's all sorts of resources out there on the web that can talk you through this. A really good one that I recommend is Hardcore Zen by Brad Warner at hardcorezen.com. But it isn't action you have to take, and you have to take that first step. So good luck. Have fun. Thanks.